Welcome to the Mystic Media channel. I'm your host, Ravina Rastaban, aka The Realist Astrologer. And tonight I'm doing the free reading for January 2017. So, the woman that posted the comment that I'm doing the free reading for, she is a Pisces and her man is a Capricorn. So she was born on March 14, 1988, and he was born on December 28, 1987. So she's a 14 and a 5 in terms of her birth number, which makes her very intellectual, very much very good communicator. However, that 14 is very challenging because oftentimes when you want to make changes in your life, it's very hard for you to make those changes or initiate those changes. And then when you finally do initiate those changes, it's like you go through major upheaval and you might leave a trail of broken hearts and hurt feelings in your path. So 14 is a very tricky number. Oftentimes the person needs to make changes, but they refuse to make changes, and that is to their detriment. And then oftentimes when you want to make a change, it's a little too late. He's a 28 in terms of his birth number, and that's a number where oftentimes his life is very much contingent upon who he is around or who he is involved with. He is very impressionable, and he has a tendency to go along with other people's program instead of his own. So he's very easily influenced by whoever is around him or whoever is wielding the most power and control over his life at a given time. In terms of your life path number, you're a 7, which fits your Pisces sun, because 7 is the number of Pisces, as well as Neptune. And he's an 11, which breaks down to 2. Now, 11 can be very tricky in terms of a life path number as well as a birth number, because 11 is a number of conflict. Oftentimes that conflict is internal. Oftentimes with the number 11, there's some type of trade-off that exists. Oftentimes the person has a hard time making up their mind because they feel like that something will have to be sacrificed in the process. So 11 is a very tricky number. Combined with 7 as your life path number, that can basically explain the situation that you're in right now, where you said you've been with him for 12 years, but there's been a lot of ups and downs, because both 7 and 11, those are very unstable numbers, and they're not security-oriented numbers. But when you break it, when 11 breaks down to 2, that is very security-oriented. So if he can try to live more through that 2 energy, then he'll be better off. But with that 11, it's kind of hard to do that. Like, he would have to be very conscious of that on a daily basis. So when I put your 2 charts together, I noticed some serious challenging aspects, namely with his Saturn and your Sun and Venus. So his Saturn and Uranus are in Sagittarius, and they're conjoined to each other, and they're both squaring your Sun. So that right there denotes a very challenging relationship. It basically shows where he has a very strong independent streak that he needs to maintain even in a committed relationship. And it shows that he's the one that wants to wield all the control in the relationship. So you may feel kind of powerless in this relationship. However, you stay in this relationship mainly because of your life path being a 7, your birth number being a 14, and you're a Pisces, and your Sun in Pisces is right next to your North Node in Pisces, which makes it very easy for you to sacrifice on behalf of others. Now, so I mentioned his Saturn is square to your Sun, his Uranus is in square to your Sun, and his Chiron is in Gemini, and it's in square to your Sun as well. So Chiron is kind of like a mix between Saturn and Uranus, so it's like a double whammy. Basically, it's either his way or the highway. He's very willful in this relationship, and you're going to have a hard time really getting him to see things from your perspective, or to get him to bend. Basically, with these aspects, you have to be the one willing to do most of the bending, if not all of the bending, if you want this relationship to work. Also, his Saturn is in sesqui-square to your Venus, which is very challenging for relationships because Venus is the planet of relationships. So that denotes a severe imbalance of power at work, and it shows where he's very controlling, and he may be very dismissive of your feelings at times. Also, his Venus in Aquarius is in square to your Venus in Taurus. that's very challenging as well, because like I said, Venus deals with relationships and your approach to relationships, and also the type of partner that you're prone to attract. So with Venus in Aquarius, he's very willful in relationships. He doesn't like to fully commit. He likes to maintain a large degree of independence, and he can be very uncompromising and have a huge sense of entitlement. With your Venus in Taurus, you're very security oriented. You want consistency. You want, a quiet, peaceful life, and you don't like a lot of drama, and you definitely don't, you're not one to put up with a partner being unfaithful. Like, that's one of the cardinal sins for Venus and Taurus, for a partner to be unfaithful. However, in your natal chart, you have Venus opposition Pluto in Scorpio, which makes you very prone to get into relationships with partners who are unfaithful. So you have that already, dealing with your relationship profile. Now, he has Venus square Pluto. So both of you guys have challenging aspects between your Venus and Pluto. So that's hard to be in a long-term committed relationship that is harmonious. So while it's a long-term relationship, being as though y'all are together for 12 years, it's not harmonious. And you did mention that there's been a lot of ups and downs, and the downs have been epic. So that Pluto influence can deal with those downs being epic, because Pluto deals with extremes. And also, in your synastry, his Venus is in square to your Pluto, so that echoes his Venus square Pluto aspect in his natal chart. So whenever I see that in synastry, basically to me it says that this partner is basically repeating the same pattern that's in his natal, so he's not really growing as a result of this relationship. Things are too easy for him because of that Venus square Pluto. He falls right into the same trap that his natal dictates. So that basically denotes that this relationship is very tumultuous. There's a severe imbalance of power, with Pluto afflicting both of your Venuses, and then Venus square Pluto in your synastry. So this is a very challenging relationship, and you do have some positive aspects. Basically, his sun is conjoined to your Saturn, conjoined to your Uranus and Neptune, so that can explain why the two of you have been together for so long. Also, his sun is conjoined to your Mars. His Mercury is conjoined to your Mars. His Mars is in trine to your Sun. So and also his Saturn is in sextile to your Mercury. His Saturn is in sextile in trine to your Jupiter. So those positive aspects explains why the two of you have managed to last for 12 years. But as you said, it's a relationship of ups and downs, and those downs have been epic. Keep that in mind, because when I did the 4-card reading to answer your question, you wanted to know how can you make things easier in this relationship. The first card I received was the 10 of Swords, and that describes the situation. 10 of Swords is a card of desperation. It's a card of extremes. It's a card of drastic changes. And basically, it's a card of death. Basically, this is showing that, to me, with the situation being the 10 of Swords, you've gone as far as you can go in this relationship. There's really nothing really more to gain. The challenge is the sun. The sun basically is life. Basically, it makes things easier. It facilitates things. So that is the challenge right there. You say, how can I make things more easier? And also the sun deals with attentiveness and realization. And I believe it points to your man basically being in a relationship but not playing an active role like he should be playing. And then your advice is 3 of Swords, which means to me that you need to diversify. Diversify. I can't say this enough. So that could be diversify where you start going out and seeing other men. You start dating other guys. Or it can mean diversify in terms of your interests. Start having outside interests that have nothing to do with this guy, so that you're not putting all your time, energy, and effort into this relationship where you're not getting that much in return. And the outcome is the 6 of Wands. So if you take the advice where you diversify and start, being more open-minded and start being more outgoing, apart from him, you're going to start to feel more better, and you're going to start to feel more confident. And you will see a change in him. He will start to be more attentive to you, and he will start showing you more positive attention, and he'll start to really take your feelings into account. However, I drew another card, just dealing with the overall theme of this relationship, and it's the Wheel of Fortune. Now, that Wheel of Fortune describes exactly what you said. A lot of ups and downs. That Wheel of Fortune with respect to relationships, it's the breakup to make up, but it's a wheel. So you're just going around and you're not moving forward. So it's a merry-go-round, hamster wheel type of relationship. So if you're tired of being on that hamster wheel, then you really need to make some decisions this year, or maybe within the next year or so, about, okay, do I really want to continue down this road, or do I want to continue on this hamster wheel because it's not really going in the manner that I want it to go. Also, to answer your question, will he ever marry me? I got the Death card. Now, in some cases, the Death card can deal with marriage, but in my experience, just being a tarot reader, when I do a one card reading and I'm asking, okay, is he going to marry you? I'm looking at death as basically it's a no. Basically, what would happen? Let me explain to you what would happen in this situation with the Death card. So let's say 5 years from now, 10 years from now, once he's, gotten older and he feels like, he's done everything he needs to do in life, well then he may decide to settle down with you because you're the last one standing. So you never want to be that type of option where, you're the last resort, because that's what that Death card is telling me. Like, he's going to use you as the last resort just in case things don't work out with any other potential mates. So yes, at the end of the day, he could marry you maybe like 10 years from now, 5 years from now. However, if he does take it there and wants to marry you, I strongly advise you to think twice, think 3 times, think 4 times, because more than likely this marriage will end in divorce because of those aspects in your synastry that I spoke about. Namely, his Saturn square your sun, his Venus square your Venus, his Uranus square your sun. Uranus, in challenging aspects to your personal planets in a synastry, almost always can denote divorce or separation, even if it's temporary. Again, like I said, it's the breakup to make up type of thing. And then also his Chiron is square to your sun. So let's say the two of you do get married. Well, there's a chance that even if you were to stay married for like 15, 20 years, you're going to be very unhappy. You're going to be very unfulfilled, and it's going to be very one-sided. So that's the free reading for January 2017. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you would like to provide feedback, please leave a comment, or if you want your feedback personal, you can email me at karma3675@aol.com. That's karma3675@aol.com. And my next video is going to be the continuation of the Dark Sided Zodiac Recap series. And if any of you would like a chance for a free reading for the month of February, just leave your birth information for you and your mate or your potential mate in the comments section. And you can provide a backstory or a question, but it's not necessary. Peace and many blessings.